Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Kuti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Книга Кришна, Верховная Личность Бога.
We are reading from Kṛṣṇa book,
17 глава.
chapter 17,
Как Кришна потушил лесной пожар.
extinguishing the forest fire.
Услышав о том, как был наказан Kāliya,
King Parīkṣit,
царь
after
Парīkṣit
hearing
спросил
of
Śukadevу
the
Gosvāmī, почему змей покинул свои прекрасные земли,
chastisement of
почему
Kāliya,
Garuḍa стал его
inquired from Śukadeva Gosvāmī as
Śukadeva
to why
Gosvāmī,
Kāliya left his beautiful land and why
рассказал царю,
Garuḍa was so
что змеи
antagonistic
населяли
to
остров
him. Śukadeva
Nāgālaya,
Gosvāmī informed
и
the
Kāliya
king
был
that
там одним из
the island known as
предводителей змеиного рода.
Nāgālaya was
Garuḍa, который
inhabited by
питается змеями,
serpents, and
летел
that
на этот
Kāliya was
остров,
one of the chief
летал и
serpents
убивал
there.
столько змей, сколько хотел.
Being accustomed to eating
Некоторых из
snakes,
них он
Garuda
съедал,
used to come to
остальных
this
же убивал
island
просто так.
and kill many serpents as
птицы
well,
и птиц.
at will.
Это
Some of
вызывало
them he
в
actually
племени
ate,
змей такое возмущение, что глава этого племени
but
Vāsuki
some
обратился
were
к Господу
unnecessarily
Брахме
killed.
с просьбой о защите.
The reptile society
Но нужно
became
сказать,
so
что змеи —
disturbed
существа
that
очень
their
злобные,
leader, Vāsuki, appealed to
злобные,
Lord
завистливые,
Brahmā for protection.
много
You
неприятностей.
need to understand that
И вот Garuḍa —
these
это
snakes are
гроза змей, вообще
really
змеи никого не боятся.
poisonous,
Такие
and
змеи
Garuda
слышится.
was never afraid of them.
Есть такие места Nāgālaya, вот эти порталы, там есть места, где эти змеи живут,
So these descriptions
принимают разные облики. И
are
их
giving us
главная
the
характеристика
scenery,
основная — это
just like the one
глубочайшая
in Goloka.
природная зависть.
And this is
Что-то
the description
ядом
of
вырабатывает,
like
что
the
один,
natural
капля яда можно уничтожить, наверное.
envy,
Ну,
envious
это
state.
планета легко.
That envy generates
Вот
so
такие
much
существа,
of poison.
вселяющие такой страх и ужас.
And these creatures, like snakes,
И Garuḍa
they bring so much
Garuḍa.
fear in
боятся, они его
our
поничить.
life. Garuda is eating them
Это его
because
пища.
all the living creatures are
Он смотрит
afraid
на
of
них как на
them.
пищу просто. Не
And
смотрит
for Garuda, it's
на
just a
качество,
food.
там, семейные
nothing else.
традиции,
He doesn't care about
деяния
any
какие-то, не рассматривает. Просто смотрит на них как на пищу
traditions
и
or
захватывает просто дикий
it
зло.
was not an act of
И Garuḍa
anger or
прилетал
something.
туда и убивал
He's
таких
just
змей
coming to eat,
и съедал.
so he would
Или просто так
come
убивал, потому что а что от них проку от этих змей?
and
Что
just
они завистливые,
eat some of them, or he would
пользы не
just
приносят.
kill him for fun
В общем,
because
как-то так. Garuḍa в сознании Кришны.
their life is not so much useful.
Но поскольку это природа определена ему пищей, имеет право на
Since it is his food according to
И
the
Vāsuki
nature.
обратился к Господу Брахме. Vāsuki
fine.
это предводитель змей, он отличается от
And
всех
Lord
других
Brahmā
Vāsuki это праведный, добрый змей.
was addressed by
Есть змеи
Vāsuki.
не ядовитые, например.
And Vāsuki is
Не
a
все из
special
них,
snake.
оказывается, такие
It is
злобные,
not
ужасные. Это также
mean
описывается
and
в
poisonous.
истории
Not
о
all the
Ганге,
snakes are mean and poisonous.
который совершал жертвоприношение змей, и оно было остановлено именно по этой причине. что
And
не все змеи такие
actually,
злобные,
there is a
ужасные. Есть
story
змеи очень добрые
when
змеи. Vāsuki один
one
из них.
sacrifice
Все,
was
когда
stopped
родился Vāsuki, явился.
when all
Я
the
не помню
snakes
эту
were
историю, как он
supposed to
явился.
go into
Но
fire.
когда он явился в теле змеи, этот Vāsuki, он
And
стал сильно
when
сожалеть.
Vāsuki
Получил
got his snake body,
посмотрел на своих собратьев
he was very sorry of this situation, and he saw that all his associates are snakes. He thought it was a really shameful situation for him. So he started to pray, addressing Brahma, and Brahma said, "Why are you so mean to yourself? Why are you making go through such austerities? Why do you want to die?" And he said, "Because I have this snake body." But the Brahma said, "No problem, not all the snakes are like that." So sometimes the rulers are not possess those qualities that you expect to see. Like Bali Maharaj, he was the king of all the demons. Yeah, and Prahlad Maharaj was the son of a big demon. So there is a meaning to this. Usually we can see that in the mundane world, the materialist rulers, they cannot really rule the place. Of course, they protect the religion, they might protect that, but they do it just because it helps in ruling the society. So they understand there should be some superior opinion or superior power that would help to rule the people. So they give a part of their jurisdiction to those religious leaders, not because they believe in God, but to organize this. It's a question of management. So they know that these guys will not offend any of the materialists. And there are some guys who are the heads of the religious groups, and they're not really believers, but they can be used for this management purpose.
Которое должно было оградить змей от нападения Garuḍы. Дважды в месяц они будут приносить Garuḍе.
Lord Brahmā made an arrangement by which Garuḍa would not create a disturbance. On each half-moon day, the reptile community would offer a serpent to Garuḍa. The serpent was to be kept underneath a tree as a sacrificial offering to Garuḍa. This is what they made. They've been choosing the victim to offer to Garuḍa, and twice a month they would do it. And Brahma was not against it, because Garuḍa had his rightful. It was his right to come and eat those snakes. Because snakes, this is the food for birds. So Brahma set these rules. Twice a month you can come and you're gonna take some of the snakes, and both sides were happy. But gradually Kāliya took advantage of this situation. Soon you'll understand why this rule was so cruel. Kāliya used this situation in a while. He was unnecessarily puffed up by the volume of his accumulated poison, as well by his material power. And he thought, why should Garuḍa be offered this sacrifice? he then ceased offering any sacrifice instead of himself, ate the offering intended for Garuda. This is why this rule is there. You need to make this sacrifice, not to eat each other in the end. This is the law given for snakes, because this is their nature. They are so envious and so poisonous that in the end they think, why Garuda should come and take it? I will eat them. When Garuda, the great devotee carrier of Vishnu, understood that Kāliya was eating the offered sacrifices, he became very angry and rushed to the island to kill the offensive serpent. Kāliya tried to fight Garuda and faced him with his many hoods and poisonous sharp teeth. Kāliya attempted to bite him, and Garuda, the son of Tarksya, in great anger and with the great force befitting the carrier of Lord Vishnu, struck the body of Kāliya with his effulgent golden wings. Kāliya, who is also known as Kadrusuta, son of Kadru, immediately fled to the lake known as Kāliya Hrada, which lay within the Yamuna river and which Garuda could not approach. A holy place, Garuda could not go there. Not any place can be his area. Like in Mecca, they do not do any kind of sacrifice in there. It should be done outside. Something like that. And Garuda was respecting these rules. From one side, he's a bird, he has his nature, but from another side, he's a Vaishnava. And, according to the Vaishnava tradition, he lives the life of the Vaishnava, the people live. Just like being in the temple and outside the temple. There is some stuff you do in the temple and you can do. Some things you cannot do, you do it outside. So he would not approach these places. And Kadrusuta is because Kadru and Hinata, the two wives of, actually, as I remember, two sisters. They would get birth to snake. One of them would get birth to snakes, and another to birds. They actually been arguing each other, and one of them got to be enslaved. And that story brings us the understanding why Garuda had this kind of food. Kadru enslaved her sister. In the beginning, all snakes were non-poisonous. They were not liars. Because you need some material reason to lie. Just like death does not exist, or old age or disease. It's more like a dream or illusion. One day they saw a horse, a white horse. Some divine horse with a moon color horse. And he passed them, astonishing with this astonishing view he was making. And they started to argue what color of his tail was. And one said it was white, and another said it was black, and they started to argue. And in the end, one of them said, let's If you said it wrong, then you're gonna be enslaved. And then Kadra made her believe that the horse's tail was white because her children were snakes. So she told them, you need to go and attach to the tail of that horse because your color is dark, your body color is dark, and that way the horse tail would look like it's black. And this is what happened. The horse passed and they saw that the tail was black. That's how it happened. And another sister got to be enslaved, and she was forbidden. So there was a child. She had a child, an egg, because it was a bird, and happened to get birth as a slave, and the child was like a slave for snakes. And for a while he was doing this service, and one day he realized, why am I serving these snakes? He approached his mother and he was asking, why am I serving these snakes? Because I'm stronger than them, and it's just snakes. And she said, well, this is the rule and you have to serve them. And he said, I don't want to. And then he said, then you go and ask, what do they want to release us from this slavery? And she did, and the answer was like, yeah, we can set you free, but we need Garuḍa to go and get some Amrita from demigods. And he went there and he got that Amrita, and he got liberation because he could see the universe and everything and all the creation. And later on he learned about his mystic power, like he can change his shape, and later on he became the transportation for Vishnu. Back then he didn't know all that. So when he got there, he saw Kashyapa Muni, and he was talking to him like, hey, my mother sent me here to see what can be done. And he said, hey, you Muni, you can tell me what my food is. And Kashyapa Muni told him, look, there is a lake not far away from here, you need to go there and wait. You need to wait on the bank of the lake. In a while you will see a huge turtle, and there will be an elephant fighting each other. Every day they would fight. In the past, they were two brothers. They were arguing each other and offending each other and cursed each other in the end. They were fighting back then, and they're fighting still. So these kind of guys you can eat easily. There is no use of these creatures. So this huge elephant and huge turtle, they've been fighting over and over again, biting each other. And Garuḍa went there, and he saw the turtle looking for an elephant. The minute she gets out of the lake, and the elephant comes, and he's looking for turtle, and they start to fight each other. And And then another thing that the Muni told him, you should never touch Brahmanas. This is the strict law for you. Never touch any Brahmanas. You're a powerful one, you can fight the demigods, you can fight the demons, but you do not touch any Brahmanas. So he was flying, and he wanted to have some rest, and he sat on a tree. You know, on the edges of the universe, there are 4 trees, and he sat on one of them, and he got on the branch of such a tree, and that branch had fallen because he was so heavy. And he saw that there was a Brahmana not far away from the tree, and he was in meditation, he was doing sacrifice. And he got pretty scared that branch might offend the Brahmana, so he was carrying that branch with him for a while to find a place to leave it. And then he saw Lord Vishnu, and he fell in love with him, with his personality. And then he also met with Indra. So anyways, Garuda could get into the place where Amrita was. It was all sealed up and protected by chakras and stuff. And even though he could get the Amrita, he was never touching a single drop of that Amrita. So in the end, he became as a transportation means of Vishnu. And when Lord Vishnu asked him, what is your desire? Garuda said, I would like to be on top of you, always. You know, the birds, they are always on top. And even though he is a carrier of Lord Vishnu made a flag stand, and a flag depicting Garuda on it. So I'm trying to recollect that story. And since those days, the snakes and birds are fighting. Garuda is eating the snakes, turtles, and elephants. Kāliya took shelter within the water of the Yamuna for the following reason. Just as Garuda went to the island of the Kāliya snake, he also used to go to the Yamuna to catch fish to eat. There was, however, a great yogi known as Subhari Muni, who used to meditate within the water there and who was sympathetic with the fish. Here's another reason. There was a sage in the meditation there. He asked Garuda not to come there and disturb the fish. Although Garuda was not under anyone's order, being the carrier of Lord Vishnu, he did not disobey the order of the great yogi. Instead of staying and eating many fish, he carried off one big fish who was their leader. Subhari Muni was sorry that one of the leaders of the fish was taken away by Garuda, and thinking of their protection, he cursed Garuda with the following words: henceforward, from this day, if Garuda comes here to catch fish, then I say this with all my strength, he will be immediately killed. So the Garuda was not going to do anything about the fish in the area, but there is also a will of God. So he made it this way, because that area, it was not aggressive. Like even tigers, they would drink the milk in the area. And Saubhari Muni, he was under the water and he was meditating on the whatever the fishes were doing, and and he got some feelings for them in the end and compassion. And that was also the reason why he had fallen afterwards. The fish influenced him, and he got these ideas to get married. He decided to go to get married, even though he got so ugly under the water. He had so much of this seaweed on him and the rest. So, without even glancing in the mirror, he decided he was a good partner for some women. And that thing took him off his yogi path for a while. And then he turned back to it. And the moment he went to the king and to get married on the king's daughters, and he was looking very, very nasty and ugly, and the girls were very afraid. The daughters of the king were afraid, and the king was afraid himself too. And the king said, "Well, I'm not against your marriage, but look at you. You look so nasty, because you've been doing this practice for many, many years, and you forgot that this world doesn't treat ugly-looking persons as good. So you need to do something about it." And he turned into a beautiful man. This curse was known only to Kāliya. Kāliya was therefore confident that Garuḍa would not be able to come there, and so he thought it wise to take shelter of the lake within the Yamuna. See, he's pretty smart. But Kāliya's taking shelter of Saubhari Muni was not successful. He was driven away from the Yamuna by Kṛṣṇa, the master of Garuḍa. It may be noted that Garuḍa is directly related to Supreme Personality of Godhead, and is so powerful that he is never a subject to anyone's order or curse. Actually, the Kṛṣṇa of Garuḍa, who is stated in Śrīmad Bhagavatam to be of this statue of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, was an offense of the part of Saubhari Muni. Although Garuḍa did not try to retaliate, the Muni was not saved from his offensive act against a great Vaishnava personality. Due to this offense, Saubhari fell down from his yogic position and afterwards became a householder, a sense enjoyer in the material world. The fall down of Saubhari Muni was so supposed to be observed in spiritual bliss by meditation, is an instruction of the offender of Vaishnava. When Kṛṣṇa finally came out of the Kāliya's lake, he was seen by all his friends and relatives on the bank of the Yamuna. He appeared before them nicely decorated, smeared all over with kandana pulp, bedecked with valuable jewels and stones, and almost completely covered with gold. The inhabitants of Vrindavan, including the cowherd boys and men, the gopis, Mother Yashoda, Maharajananda, and all the cows and calves, saw Kṛṣṇa coming from the Yamuna, and it was as though they had recovered their very life. This is the feeling that helps us to recognize Kṛṣṇa in the material world. When we see someone or hear someone with these qualities, it means there's Kṛṣṇa there. It seems like your life is coming back to you, and you have so much enthusiasm. The reason for it is always Kṛṣṇa. It's like when I come and visit my mom. She's all enthusiastic, and she's there to do some kitchen work and stuff. And so that's her reasons. But Kṛṣṇa, usually these things are not enough to be enthusiastic all the time, so Kṛṣṇa is always there. Balaram also embraced Kṛṣṇa, but he was laughing because when everyone else had been so overwhelmed with anxiety, he had known what would happen to Kṛṣṇa. So, seeing we can see Kṛṣṇa through his representatives, or we can see him in person. All the trees of the bank of Yamuna, along with all the cows, bulls and calves, were full of pleasure because of Kṛṣṇa's appearance there. The Brahmanas, inhabitants of Vrindavana, immediately came with their wives to congratulate Kṛṣṇa and his family members. And because Brahmanas are considered to be the spiritual masters of society, they offered their blessings to Kṛṣṇa and his family on account of Kṛṣṇa's release. They also asked Maharaja Nanda to give them some charity on that occasion. Look, they're giving some charity. Being so pleased, they were asking for some charity. Being so pleased by Kṛṣṇa's return, Maharaja Nanda gave many cows and much gold in charity to the Brahmanas. Sometimes people, they using this, they change themselves into Brahmana clothes and go ask for some charity and just to buy some cars and material stuff. Usually Brahmanas don't do that. While Nanda Maharaj was thus engaged, Mother Yashoda simply embraced Kṛṣṇa and made him sit on her lap while she shed tears continuously. Mothers, they always more into these feelings, more sentimental. So while Brahmanas are doing that, Yashoda was carrying Kṛṣṇa on her lap. Since it was almost night and all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, including cows and calves, were very tired, they decided to take their rest on the riverbank. It was, they went through some hard times. So, in the middle of the night, while they were taking rest, there was suddenly a great forest fire, and it quickly appeared that the fire would soon devour all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. As soon as they left the warmth of the fire, they immediately took shelter of Kṛṣṇa, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although he was playing just like their child. And they began to say, "Oh dear Kṛṣṇa, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, our dear Balaram, reservoir of all strength, please try to save us from this all-devouring and devastating fire." Usually they don't they don't address Kṛṣṇa and Balaram like that, but this way they do. Here they do. "Oh dear, please try and save us. We have no shelter other than you. This devastating fire will swallow us all." Thus they prayed to Kṛṣṇa, saying that they could not take any shelter other than his lotus feet. Lord Kṛṣṇa, being compassionate upon his own townspeople, immediately swallowed up the whole forest fire and saved them. This was not impossible for Kṛṣṇa because he is unlimited. He was unlimited. He has unlimited power to do anything he desires. This is the end of the chapter and commentary of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So, what kind of body type do we need to have to seize the fire, to swallow it? We have some fire in our bodies, of course, it is required for digestion, and the temperature is always 36 and 6. I wonder who is taking care of the temperature, the stability of it. So there is someone inside taking care of it, I guess. It's interesting. So maybe it's Kṛṣṇa. Because if he can regulate the temperature inside of us, then definitely he can swallow that forest fire. What is Kṛṣṇa's body temperature? Interesting. It's 20,000 Celsius on the sun. They say, the scientists say. Very often scientists say so much foolish stuff. Like, how do you measure this temperature of the sun? And actually, the variety of the temperature range can be very, very different. Even the candle temperature range is different. And what to say about the inside of the sun? And we don't even know if it's fire there. Prabhupada was doubting it. The thing we call fire here might not be fire there. It's more likely it's Brahmajyoti there, not our mundane fire element. Sun is something we cannot explain how it works. So if Kṛṣṇa is making the sun, it's not a problem for him to swallow the forest fire. The sun is burning all the universe in the end of the creation, and it's just an eye of the Lord. Our normal temperature is 80 degrees, not 36.6. 80 degrees in the stomach. That's the temperature of the digestion. 80 and something. It depends, of course. So it's not boiling. Otherwise, we would have steam coming out of our ears. Kṛṣṇa knows it would not be so good. So 80 degrees is enough. Human life is pretty regulated to make us remember of spiritual existence. So Kṛṣṇa is giving these instructions on how to take care of this body, so the body and the mind remind us of Kṛṣṇa. An animal body is simple. Like the monkey, it eats and defecates at the same time. There is no problem, because the idea behind this body was different. The human body is being regulated such a way that we can understand, we could have a chance to understand the Lord. From this point we can get this higher meaning, not from the Darwin's opinion. Like those scientists, they try to measure the distance between the moon and the earth in kilometers. It's interesting. They're measuring that distance, but they don't trust that Bhagavad Gita was written 5,000 years ago. And we study Bhagavad Gita from a different perspective, and we also understand the distance between every object from a different perspective. Like the distance is, there is such a distance that is required to keep the life going on those planets. So every living entity has a certain type of the body, and there is a goal of their life, so that way they would have a certain type of the body because of the purpose of life. So Vedic science, Vedic knowledge should be developed, like the Vyasadeva has given us all this knowledge, and his disciples and disciples of their disciples have been developing the knowledge. It's always good to develop the Vedic knowledge, and devotees, they should get into it. We should not ignore it. Most of people, most of devotees, most of scientists, even the devotees, they ignore this. The knowledge. Usually devotees are like meditating on Vrindavan and Rasa Leela, and they dream of seeing Krishna with their own eyes. But Srila Prabhupada was saying, if your knowledge is poor, it would be very hard to do, because your faith would be shaky, and it would be more like a religious thing. But Srila Prabhupada was not giving us any religion. Before we go into the religion, we need to understand how this world is built. Then we get the Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, we will have some grief about this, about our position in this world, about our us being incomplete. But Prabhupada was giving us Krishna consciousness, like Srimad Bhagavatam is giving us so many details of this arrangement in this world, and the relationship between the devotees, and like the first canto, Srila Prabhupada, the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is telling us in these commentaries that devotees should study and use the philosophy, the music and literature and any art in preaching the Krishna consciousness. Of course, brahmacharis, they might not need all this. But for the grihasthas, it is important. These things are important. That way we could give some knowledge that is over and higher than the knowledge the mundane scientists can give us. Very often they say that the devotees, they're useless and make fun of us. But if we make the science, if we develop the science, the Vedic science, they would become the ones to laugh at. You know, there are Upanishads and Puranas and everything, and Prabhupada was giving us the basic things. But then we can, as long as we got established in this knowledge, we could develop the knowledge. Do we have any questions today? What can be understood as the nature and certain individuality of the living being? Usually they say that the child is taken after his father, his nature, and character he's taken from the mother. So Kāliya was also a good example of it. Spiritual means Kṛṣṇa consciousness. There, behind the mind, behind the body, there's a virtual body, and inside of that virtual body, there's a servant of the Lord. It's a part from whole, the servant of the Lord. That's all we need to understand. I am the servant of the Lord. It doesn't matter what kind of body you have. Even demons serve the Lord. Character and individuality, the character, the nature, is more like our habits. What kind of habits we have, this is the character we have. And our real individuality, real nature will be revealed when we develop our spiritual side. It is said that the devotee is simple in his service. What is that simplicity? Yeah, the Prabhupada was saying it. Just simply understand Kṛṣṇa. It is understood to anyone, to any cow in Vrindavan. Look, a child can even get it. What's this world? Source. Anyone can think for a while and he will get. There's a powerful mind behind it. It's not something that appeared suddenly out of nowhere. And immediately you are Kṛṣṇa consciousness if you understand this thing. So Prabhupada was saying, it's simple. It is simple. Of course, this is the beginning, where you can go further. How to distinguish spiritual from material in the mundane life. Make some prasadam and eat. Then you will see the difference. You can be able to distinguish it always. Not with your eyes, but your inner vision is going to tell you it. You'll be able to see it, and especially if you chant in Hare Krishna, and you can be able to distinguish prasadam from not prasadam and devotee from non-devotee. You can be an expert then. It's a good start. One can also see more of fine things like bhava and the relationship, the details of relationship with God. But for us, the start is to distinguish prasadam from not prasadam. Tasting it, you will know it. Even the materialists, they can get it. What should I do? My relatives are Muslims, and they think because of my spiritual practice they will go to hell. What to do? Actually, they are already in hell. Nobody is pulling them to hell, really. Soon they will be liberated. You cannot go to hell if you serve to the Lord. It's not possible. What other Lord can you serve? There are no other gods there is no other Lord. Don't you think that Muslims, they think that the Lord is not one? No, not all the Muslims are like that. They know that Krishna is also the Lord.
Следующий вопрос от Лакшми Чайтанья. Хари Кришна, примите, пожалуйста, мои поклоны. Дорогой Гуру Махарадж, скажите, пожалуйста, почему сложно прогрессировать при помощи гун?
Why is it difficult to develop oneself through gunas? To get progress in under the guna influence. Well, of course, there is one guna that liberates us. It's sattva guna. And yes, we can have some progress if we choose sattva guna. But lower gunas, no way. It's they enslave you.
Следующий вопрос от Гуру Кадева. Дорогой Гуру Махарадж, человек является для какого-нибудь существа пищей?
Постоянно нас едят.
Humans, are they any sort of food for someone?
В каждом теле это. Уже едят.
Is it said? Yeah, of course, we are being eaten every moment. Actually, there are so many parasites and worms in the bodies, in our bodies.
Пьет кровь, так?
And also the mosquitoes
Питается кровью мужа, так скажем.
eating the blood of
Так шутят.
a human.
Комары нас кусают.
The wife is eating the husband.
Для кого-то. Когда оставляют тело, да, его полностью съедают, там в могиле
And
съедают.
when somebody is leaving his
Не
body,
захоранивают, то снаружи
it is being eaten, right?
не пройдут мимо, нет.
Nobody is going to pass it by.
Они тоже пируют каждый день, да? Тоже прогрессируют. Прогрессируют тоже, да.
So there's progress everywhere.
Вместе с паразитами, да.
Those parasites and worms eating the body, dead body, they are eating and chanting Hare Krishna.
Задал такой же
So there's a progress. Someone asked the Prabhupada,
Я тоже просад, они же тоже прогрессируют.
and
Прабхупада сказал, ты
he
очень
said,
милостив.
what about those creatures inside of us? When we eat prasadam, they also eat prasadam. Do they have some progress? And
Так что
Prabhupada said,
преданные
you are
правда
too
очень
merciful.
милосердны, когда ест просад. Все получают благо.
So the devotee is very merciful, and everybody gets prasadam.
Следующий вопрос от Михаила Вакула. Нитья Бадха – вечно обусловленные живые
Nitya
существа.
Bhakta,
Что имеется в виду, когда говорится, что они вечно обусловлены?
not eternally, not
Выйти из обусловленного
eternally conditioned souls.
Говорится, что тот, кто достигает
What does it mean?
или больше не возвращается в мир
They
страданий.
say if you reach
Мы уже когда-то
the
были
spiritual
и променяли его на
area,
независимость от Бога.
we
Разве
would,
не может это произойти еще раз?
he would not come back.
Никогда живое существо не сможет освободиться сама.
But
Никогда.
what does it mean?
Ну, так ему и передай.
Why is he coming back?
Нитья Бадха
Nitya Bhakta means you will never be
Его
liberated.
высвобождают.
A living entity can never be
Само
liberated.
никогда не освободится.
He will be always conditioned unless
Меняется Нитья Бадха.
he is liberated.
Это невозможно.
He cannot do it by himself.
Вчера считали, сколько нужно прожить жизней со скоростью 100
Yesterday we
км в час.
tried to count on how many lifetimes we need
Получилось 8
to live
5,5 жизней. Нужно ехать со скоростью
with the
100 км в
velocity of
час.
100 kilometers per hour
Только ядро
to
Вселенной,
get to the end of the
там еще
universe,
оболочки каждые 10 раз толще
even to
ядра.
reach to the core of the
Что толку
universe.
связываться? Нитья
It's
Бадха
just amazing
никогда.
how many lifetimes. And then to
Это лишь
pierce
теоретически можно. Вы не можете
this
представить, что
the
такого
covering,
существа.
like 7 coverings.
Но его
It's
освобождают.
so hard. So Nitya
Чистый
Bandha means
преданный и Мукунда.
he can be only liberated
Кришна, вот
by
Кришна
the pure
освобождает.
devotee, the Mukunda.
Никто
the
не
Lord.
может освободить.
No one can liberate him, even the demigods.
Шутка ли вы что с Майей связываете?
Следующий вопрос. Екатерина Мысичка. Ваша милость, скажите, пожалуйста, какое настроение должно быть в общении с друзьями? Что способствует углублению дружбы в сознании Кришны?
What is helpful to develop Krishna consciousness among friends? Krishna consciousness means you are taking care of the spiritual progress of each other, competing each other, friendly competition. Like if your friend is making one step, another one is following. This is a good friendship.
Дружба означает, что мы открытые отношения у нас, честные, искренние.
Friendship means we have open relationship, kind and honest. Friends can preach each other and giving some instructions and stress on what is good and what is bad and always support each other. This kind of relationship is very valuable. Thank you for the lecture. Is any kind of task or job can be cleansed by this practice, Krishna conscious practice? Yeah, anything should be made as a sacrifice to Lord Vishnu. But you need to understand, when you talk about karma, the action in Vedas, not all the actions we make is karma. There is also vikarma. Not any action, only karma. Vikarma, no, not vikarma. Not restraining from the action. Not the sinful activity. But karma is good in this sense. Prescribed duties. You need to fulfill your prescribed duties. Kamsa was sending the demons to Vrindavan and he could not cross the border of it. And himself he was turning into... It's like my daughter was asking. He was saying, yes, you're gonna pass this story to your daughter, please. I've heard this story from Dinabandhu Prabhu. He became Brijabasi a long time ago and he knows many stories. Everyone in Vrindavan knows him. Every dog knows him. He is a disciple of Prabhupada. He used to be hippie and he would make some parikramas always for us. He would tell one story after another one, and once he said that Kamsa, one time he was asked why Kamsa was sending demons and he was not trying to kill Krishna by himself. And he said, well, actually Kamsa tried to come to Vrindavan one time because he could not get into it. Yogamaya met him on the borders. And the Parikrama road has exit to Mathura. And there are some gates there. Used to be some gates. I don't know if it's still there. Mathura is pretty big. So that border area between Mathura and Vrindavan, there's a kunda, mystic kunda, where Kamsa was put. Some old lady, Yogamaya, some old lady approached to Kamsa, grabbed him and put him in the kunda with all his armor and weapon. And of course, there would be some followers of him and security guards, but it doesn't mention. So anyway, she took him, she put him in the water and shaking him inside and whispering something. And when she got it out, it was something you can really it is hard to describe what it was. Some wrinkled little tiny creature. And it was like a little girl then. And Yogamaya took her to meet with gopis in Vrindavan. She said, "Here's a new girl for you. Please take care of her." And the gopis were like, "Who are you? How did you get to Vrindavan here?" They tried to... They looked at her from all angles and they were like, what sort of service can you do? Can you milk the cow? No. Can you do the laundry? No. Well, let's put her next to the cow bung to make this cow stool like pennies. Because Kamsa, he was a king, he would not have any qualifications in this. So every time they would pass her by and they would just kick her in the side and make jokes and stuff. And Kamsa, during that service, he would think, here I am, I'm sitting in this cow stool doing this pennies from cow bun, and he thought maybe it would be better for me not to come to Vrindavan. I wish I would liberate myself from Vrindavan. And when he got so into these thoughts, Yogamaya came back again and she said, "I can liberate you. Will you come again to Vrindavan?" And he said, no way. So she said that you need to make promise to each gopi that you're not gonna come here, and you need to render some obeisances in front of each gopi and saying that you're not gonna come. So she grabbed him back to that kunda and put him into the water and got out of the water of the kunda, and there was Kamsa back. So it was a story by Dinabandhu Prabhu, and he was telling it with many jokes, and it's interesting. There are many stories in Vrindavan, mystic stories that Prabhupada would never mention even in the Western world. Those guys in the Brijabasis in Vrindavan, sometimes they even try to give us these stories that we will never hear anywhere. So sometimes they would say, "I will give you a story or two for your preaching time. I will share it with you later." Achyuta Prabhu was giving a lecture, and everybody was glorifying Srila Prabhupada afterwards. How come someone can give a lecture like that and not being glorified, but only Srila Prabhupada can be glorified? Yeah, this is Achyuta Prabhu. He's like that. But actually, this is the sign of a good preaching when the preacher attracts an attention and not Krishna, then it's a bad sign. Achyuta Prabhu was always preaching like that. In the beginning, he was always shy and of course it depends on what we think of ourselves when we preach. We might think it depends on your level of self-understanding. At least in the theory, when we preach, we need to understand we are not this body. We are part of Kṛṣṇa. Then people would be more appealed by Kṛṣṇa, not by us.
Александр Алысый спрашивает: Ваша милость, жители Вриндавана ночевали на берегу и могли же зайти в Ямуну, чтобы огонь не причинил им вреда.
Vrindavan inhabitants, they were taking rest on the bank of Yamuna river. Why didn't they enter the Yamuna waters when there was a forest fire? Well, it depends on the size of the fire. More than Vrindavan, probably, you can see that deserted banks of Yamuna river there. Back in Kṛṣṇa times, it was not like that. There was a forest, and the forest of Vrindavan, there's a description that the sunlight would not reach the ground. It was so dense. So when we are reading, we might imagine some other picture, but we need to keep in mind this description of Vrindavan. There were some streams. It was a rich land. We don't know what the fire, forest fire in Vrindavan especially. They're giving us the short version that they could not be saved by any other means. Should a devotee make some tries to make their parents to go on a spiritual path? If you are really on a spiritual path, it means your parents are there already. It doesn't matter if they chant Hare Krishna or not, because they are thinking of you, and this is yoga. They don't really need to chant Hare Krishna if they're demoniac or if they're materialistic. But thinking of you is enough, even if they think bad of you. You're still connected. So it all depends on you, on your Krishna consciousness. Parents always think of their children. Why rationalism does not accept faith, belief? Because it's irrational. There is no profit in it. When a person starts to believe in something spiritual, he starts to ignore the material.
Вот тут материалисты говорят, не
So the
практично.
materialists say it's not
С одной
practical.
стороны, хорошо, если человек уже все потерял, да?
From one side, it is good
Ничего, вот он
when you
не
have
пользуется.
nothing.
Это тоже может быть рационально.
It's rational
Нечего
to
терять.
meet the Lord.
Но если у вас
There
есть
is nothing to
необходимость,
lose. But
зачем
if
вам
you
терять
have
всё это?
everything to lose,
Вера в Бога,
then you
Бога
don't really
отнимает,
need
тот, кто
the
получает, и всё.
faith for
Всё
God,
материальное,
because
нехорошо. Это рационализм.
it's
В этом смысле.
taking everything from you. So in
Но
this
если вы
perspective,
говорите им, что Веда это
it's like that.
практично,
But if you
это
tell them
выгодно,
that Veda
сознание,
is
конечно, даже более выгодно, чем
is
материализм,
practical,
показываете преимущество
that
развития
Krishna
сознания.
consciousness
Они думают,
brings
да,
you more
да, это хорошо.
benefit
Общество будет процветать благодаря сознанию
benefit
Кришны,
than
говорит.
the
И материально
materialism,
тоже.
then it will
Ну
be good.
тогда другое дело, они говорят.
They say this
это
the whole
доказательство,
society is
что
gonna
так.
have some
Просто
benefits
верите в это, покажите это научно. то,
if
что
they
говорят.
develop this knowledge.
Да, и Прабхупада доказывал это в своей проповеди.
And Prabhupada was giving us in his
Карма,
books.
артха, кама, мокша. он
Prabhupada
всё
was
доказывает.
given
Пожалуйста, начинается все как раз с веры.
this
с религии.
knowledge. Dharma, Artha,
Если у
Kama,
вас есть
Moksha.
вера религиозная, значит, и будет долг. Если есть долг,
If you have
плюс
the Dharma, if you have
честность, значит,
faith,
значит, будет
then
экономическое
you're gonna
процветание.
have
Если будет
the
экономическое
duty.
процветание, будет
If you do
счастье,
your
карма,
duty, then
пожалуйста. Вот
you
вам.
get
рационально.
some economical development. And if you have some money,
А просто
your
вера,
economy
которая
is good,
отнимает у человека
then
интерес
your
к материальной
senses,
жизни, существованию, они говорят,
you
нерационально.
can enjoy your senses gratification.
Следующий вопрос у Нитай Мангала. Описывается ли в Ведах, что находится внутри планеты Земля?
Is
Что
there
находится внутри
any description
Там
in
же
Vedas
Nāgālaya,
what is inside
планета
of
демонов, демоническая планета.
the earth?
Там.
The Nāgālaya is there.
Ты имеешь в виду, наверное, земной шар.
Probably you mean the earth, the ground inside of this globe.
Веды не дают такое.
No, it's not written in the Vedas.
Не шар.
It's not about
Земля это плохо.
this globe.
В этом и
The earth
Я не
is
знаю, может быть,
flat
это шар в физическом каком-то воплощении.
in
но
this meaning.
уровни существуют.
It's more like a
Слои
layer.
Вселенной
It's a layer.
существуют.
There are some layers of the
То, что мы
universe.
можем сейчас наблюдать явно.
It comes in layers.
Видим точки,
And we cannot
какие-то на небе.
perceive it. We just see
Ну, Земля такая
the
же
dots,
точка, но
little
это
shiny dots
уровень,
in
пласт.
the skies.
Вот
But
эти
the
пласты,
earth
ученые их не
is
видят.
more like a layer,
Это
and it doesn't.
написано. Поэтому есть пласт.
The
земной,
scientists they cannot perceive it.
занимает целую середину Вселенной. Это большой пласт.
So this bhoo,
плоскость.
the earth
Там
is
много-много-много
bhoo
мест
in
плохо.
Vedas, and it's more like
Земного
a
уровня.
layer, and it has
Там
many
внутри
many
каждой планеты
other
есть устройство
planets, many
определенное,
planets
которое
in
позволяет ей
there,
быть на орбите, если говорить
and
о
every planet is
орбитальной-
on its orbit.
орбитальной точки зрения. Например, нефть. Это горючее
Let's
внутри
take
Земли.
the oil.
Используется
oil
для горения внутри.
is-
Эти вулканы показывают, что там
is
температура,
required
как, откуда.
To
Нефть
have
поддерживает. Это устройство
some fire
поддерживается
inside of the planet.
нефтью, этим горением, там еще
There's a
чем-то,
burning
чтобы
inside,
планета
and you
сохраняла
can
свои
see the
свойства и была на своей
volcanoes.
орбите.
It brings you the
Если нефть
signs.
выкачивается,
If
можем
you
нарушить
take the
этот баланс.
oil off
Вспомните
the ground,
Хираняша, Хираньякашипу, они
then the
как раз
balance
эти
of the
ресурсы
earth
планеты
can be
Земли
changed.
истощили так, что она спустилась вниз.
Just
орбиту,
like in the times of Hiranyaksha and
уровень
Hiranyakashipu,
ниже, слой ниже.
they've been
То есть стала адской планетой.
taking so much of the resources
Вараха поднимал ее
off
снова
the
на это
ground,
место,
so
восстанавливал ее
the
уровень.
earth
А был ли это шарик или
sink
что-то
down
другое, там,
into
я не
the
знаю, не описываю.
this cosmic ocean.
Возможно, это не нужно даже описывать эту точку зрения. Но если вы наблюдаете как шар, вы должны орбитально
If you
видеть
are
ее природу. Тогда вы
treated-
должны знать, что это орбита и шар связаны с ее внутренним
If you
устройством,
treat this as
где есть
planet
горение,
and the
какое-то,
globe,
какие-то процессы.
then you need to understand there is some
Туда лучше не вмешиваться.
petrol there, burning material. So it's
Пока
better not to
планета Земля жива, не надо
interfere
вскрывать ее. Так же, как человек жив, не
into-
надо вскрывать его.
It's when it's just like when you have a living human being
Любовь Бухарова.
or living being,
Что такое
you
духовный
don't
характер
need to cut it his body open to see how it works. Same with the earth.
Духовная практика вне сознания Кришны.
What is spiritual practice
Вне других конфессий.
outside
Это размышления,
other
например, о
confessions
космосе, может
and
быть,
Krishna consciousness?
о Вселенной.
Well, it's
Интересно,
just
духовно человек медитирует.
meditation,
Это тоже можно отнести к духовной практике.
the process of
Есть много аспектов.
thinking
Духовной практики
over
аспектов
the
огромное
structure
количество.
of this universe.
В каждом человеке это проявляется на Кришне совершенно не похоже.
Krishna consciousness is being revealed in every living entity
Поэтому
differently.
здесь вопрос такой индивидуальный больше.
So it's more
Какой
like
у вас
an
сознание?
individual approach. What is your Krishna consciousness?
Вне практики сознания
Outside
Кришны.
of Krishna
Потому что есть
consciousness.
способность мыслить человека. Мыслящие люди
Because
могут
we
как-то
all have
развиваться,
some
но
intelligence.
медленно. Это очень медленный процесс.
We have some slow
Сознание Кришны
development.
это лифт на 100-й этаж, быстро.
The
Если
Krishna
вечный
consciousness
молот
is
быстро
more like a
смывает
lift,
грехи.
quick lift to the top floor.
А вот эти методы, о которых вы говорите,
It
вне,
cracks all the
сейчас
sins and
я не думаю,
shakes
что
all the
можно ими
sins off.
пользоваться и достичь какого-то ощутимого
The
результата.
other methods
Зачем вы думаете о чем-то другом, когда есть уже
not so fruitful.
работающий метод? Великолепнейший.
We have a working
Почему хотите по-другому продвигаться?
means. Krishna consciousness. We
Вот
have
есть
a
лекарства, которые выпьете и лечите.
working method. Why do you look for some other method that is slow and
100 лет.
if you have a good
Мне непонятна эта логика.
treatment,
Почему
good
так не
medicine
всё?
that can heal you very quick, why do you look for
Мне нужно понять.
some medicine that you will need 100 years
Если в сердце
to be healed?
страх забыть Бога и вернуться к материальной жизни, как быть с этим страхом?
There is a fear to
Страх забыть Бога?
forget the Lord
Да, нормально.
and
Пусть будет,
stop this
слава Богу.
spiritual life.
Так не
Oh,
забудь.
this feeling is very good.
Пока
This
боишься.
fear is excellent. Keep on.
А кто не
having
боится
it.
забыть Бога из преданных?
If you're a devotee, you fear
меньше
of
смерти боятся.
forgetting the Lord.
Чем забыть Бога?
It's better to they fear this more than the death.
Какова важность парам-гуру для преданного? И какова
What
его
is the importance of Param Guru for devotee,
Param
and
Guru.
what is the relationship with Param Guru?
А если мы выражаем наивысшее почтение
Param
своему
Guru.
духовному учителю,
Mm.
максимальное почтение,
If you try to
то есть больше, чем Кришна даже,
show the respect
то
to your
Парам Гуру
spiritual master
вдвойне еще выражается почтение.
more
Настолько ценен
than
Парам
the
Гуру.
Lord, then Param Guru
Потому
would
что
be even
всё,
more
что нам дает
appreciated
духовный учитель,
than your
дает от
spiritual
имени
master.
своего духовного
Because everything that is given
учителя.
us
Если мы
by
признаем
the
только
spiritual
своего гуру
master
и не знаем о Парам Гуру,
is
то мы
given
не
us
знаем Парам Гуру.
through his spiritual master.
Для ученика
It's not
цель
like we
гуру
know only
в том
our
смысле, что он слуга своего
spiritual
гуру.
master, and we don't know that he is a
Видим гуру
servant of
отдельно от
his guru.
парампары.
There is a
Видите, вот
parampara.
связь со своим духовным учителем.
There's a connection between him
Когда мы
and
понимаем
his
парампару,
spiritual master.
это очень важно.
Then it's a parampara. It's very important.
Олег Харидас. Читание Махапрабху говорил, что придет мой генерал и распространит
Chaitanya
знания.
Mahaprabhu was saying that
Является
my
Прабхупада
general is
духовным.
gonna come. And who is Srila
Духовном
Prabhupada
мире.
in the spiritual world?
Как выглядит, имеется в виду? Чем занимается?
Who Srila Prabhupada in the spiritual world? You mean how he looks like?
Ответ
And
никто не дал.
what is he doing there? I don't know.
Кто-то спрашивал, но
No one was given the answer like that.
это секрет. Прабхупада не
It's a
скрывал его.
secret. Prabhupada didn't reveal it.
Мы должны когда-то сами узнать об этом.
One day we need to learn it on our own.
Спросите прямо Шрила Прабхупаду.
Ask Prabhupada
Молитва.
directly in your
Возможно, он вам
prayer.
скажет. Пока мне ничего.
He might say it to you. He didn't say it to me yet.
Владимир Вишкин. Как же найти новый мотив и вернуться к практике?
How to find a new motive to go back
Есть определенный
to practice.
Пробую снова
The old ones
никакого интереса,
burned out
внимательности.
And I have no attention when I chant Hare Krishna
Да,
mantra.
потому что есть материальные желания же.
Yeah, it's natural if you have some
Материальные
material
желания.
desires.
Есть привязанность к материальному счастью.
There is some attachment to material
Я могу
happiness.
подумать, что отказавшись от материальных желаний, я буду
Thinking,
счастлив.
if I reject this material happiness, I will be happy.
Я могу быть очень
Material
несчастлив,
desires,
если нет сознания Кришны.
I get rid of them, I will be happy. No, it's not like that.
Да? Просто приняв саньясу, человек не может достичь совершенства.
It's not that you take in the
Никогда не
sannyas,
будет счастлив.
you're gonna
Похоже, такая ситуация.
get happiness. You're gonna be happy.
Разочаровался во всем
No,
материальном, как бы
no, it's not like
отказался,
that.
и ничего не делаешь. в
If
этом
you
отношении, конечно, ты будешь несчастлив. Это называется
if you have no happiness in this material world and you're not doing anything about the spiritual
Арджуна тоже хотел
connection,
отказаться от
then
всего и выйти из поля сражения.
you're gonna be
Кришна говорит,
all in
это
misery.
не то отречение,
Arjuna
не
wanted
настоящее
the
отречение,
same
это не
thing.
исполнение обязанностей.
He wanted to
Настоящее
leave,
акарма, это служение.
but
Служение находиться. То есть не для себя действовать, а для Бога действовать.
Krishna
Что
said, no,
просто отрекись,
real
стань преданным.
akarma means to do something
Мана
for the
Бхава
Lord.
Бхактам Атяджана, он сказал, стань преданным Кришне.
You need to become my devotee, Krishna was saying.
Не просто сражаться, не сражаться, а стань преданным.
It's not a question of fighting or not
Не надо ничего
fighting.
отказываться, оказывается.
Become a devotee.
Все
And
то
then you
ценное,
will
что у
not
тебя
need
есть,
to
используй
reject
сознание Кришны, ты
anything.
будешь счастлив.
Whatever you have, you need to engage in
Человек
Krishna
расстраивается,
consciousness.
когда
Then you'll be
либо
happy.
аппаратки совершает, либо не исполняет свой
Usually,
долг.
we are
В контексте этого
suffering
вопроса
because
нет
we
исполнения
made some
долга,
either
поэтому
apparatus or we are not fulfilling
свой
our
долг.
duties.
в чем мой долг? Арджун говорит, я уже
What is
забыл.
my
Не
duty?
знаю. Он скоро.
Arjun was saying. Because I don't know.
Кришна говорит, ты должен хотя бы
And
ради
Krishna
поддержания
said,
тела что-то делать.
You need to do at least something.
Заработать какие-то
sustain
деньги
yourself.
должен, чтобы
You
просто
need
поесть
to
должен.
get some money
Чтобы где-то место жить
to
было, ты
eat.
должен что-то
You need
делать.
some place to
Вот это
live.
будет тебя поддерживать на
to
каком-то
sleep.
цивилизованном уровне.
It will
Это
keep
выше,
you on a
чем
certain
бездействие, чем вот
civilized
этот вот
level.
паразитизм духовный.
It is better
В
than
контексте
the
вопроса я отвечаю.
spiritual laziness.
Так мы приходим к опустошению, и это сознание Кришны.
That way we'll get into this deserted area where there is nothing
Это
there.
ошибка.
It's a
Читайте
mistake.
Бхагавад-гиту. Я не знаю,
You
что
need
вы
to read
читаете,
Bhagavad
почему
Gita.
вы
I don't know
решили
what you're reading,
написано, что
what
нужно
kind of
исполнять своих обязанностей.
solutions you making in your
Они
life.
все корыстные,
you have it in your
материальные,
life.
поэтому я от них отказываю. Майя вада.
It's not like that
Вот эти
that
свои корыстные желания займи в служении Кришне.
we have
очистится.
some materialistic desires and we get
В
rid of
этом
it.
секрет успеха.
It's
Механизм
Mayavad.
в этом.
If
Займи
you
то,
get
что у
rid of
тебя
it,
есть. Он говорит, «А у
you
меня
will
всё
not be
корыстное,
able to
как я
develop
буду? Я не
your
хочу ничего,
consciousness.
не буду».
You have to engage
Это
your
глупо.
materialistic desires in the
Ачарьи говорят
service.
по-другому. Занимай
to
то,
Krishna.
что есть.
This is what acharyas say.
Ту профессию,
You
что
need
ты-
to have
Давай вот это
have it
всё.
engaged. Your mind, your profession.
И тогда ты почувствуешь,
Everything.
что процесс радостный.
You need to engage it in this process. Then you will feel that this
Не
path
культивируйте ложное отречение. Кришна
full of
это
happiness.
отвергает. Не один такой вопрос, знаете, я знаю. Тысячи таких вопросов.
Many questions like this
Если
I
не
hear.
миллион таких вопросов.
Millions of.
Сколько преданных, которые
How many
Ничего
devotees
толком
they are
полезного
not
не
doing anything in their life and they keep asking these
мантры
questions.
надеются увидеть Кришну.
They chant Hare Krishna and they hope
Давайте
to see
рассмотрим другой
Krishna
вопрос, еще не знаю,
and get into the Rasa Lila. No.
что сердце хотят Параматму увидеть, хотят сразу,
Oh,
сразу.
they
Ничего не
sometimes want to see Paramatma,
Толком,
but they are
полезного
not doing anything. Anything good in their life, they are not doing.
У вас что, нет духовного
They're doing
руководства?
nothing good in their
Как
life.
нет Бхагавад-гиты?
Don't you have
Нет
your
терпения, ничего нет.
instructor or Bhagavad Gita? Or you cannot
хватает
tolerate
смирения.
things? Or you're not,
Но разум-то должен быть.
or
Вы читаете
no
Бхагавад-гиту или
humility?
не читаете?
Do you read Bhagavad Gita or not?
Последний вопрос.
Last question.
Вспоминаются.
Это поверхность ума, взволнованная поверхность ума, Вентилятор кармы, говорит,
the
да,
surface of the mind
он постепенно
is like a
забивает.
fan, a karma
Может быть, тебе
fan.
понадобится десяток лет хотя бы практики, чтобы
You
ты
might need a few years,
заметил, что ум меняет
few
режим.
dozen of years of spiritual practice to see that your mind can be switched.
Неповоротливый, обусловленный ум.
The mind is conditioned,
Гвоздик к кресту прибитый.
and it keeps us nailed to this cross.
Немало времени нужно, чтобы ум развернуть в другом направлении, как бы.
So we need a big chunk of time to turn our mind into the opposite direction.
И же в таком режиме получается. Но повторяешь мантру,
But if you chant
следуешь практике.
your mantra and you follow your practice,
Это всю нашу жизнь займет, все постепенно.
it should take all our life engaged in this process.
Мусор уйдет постепенно.
And all the trash will go out.
Хорошие вещи, ценные вещи, полезные для сознания.
And many good and useful things gonna come out of your mind with the time. It's even okay not to remember the shlokas and stuff. Sometimes we hear very good lectures and we cannot repeat it. But in the heart, we can not remember the lecture, but in heart we remember the message. I cannot repeat the words. The mind surface is shaky. And there's a storm there. We cannot repeat it. But in heart, inside, we know the message. Just like the surface of the lake. When it's calm, we can see the bottom very easily. When the water is calm, when the mind is calm, the surface is calm, you'll be able to see what's inside of you. But sometimes we get some Kṛṣṇa katha through this muddy water. Sometimes it gets there. And but usually the heart is holding the message. Okay, so I guess that's it. Śukadeva Gosvāmī ki jai.